I'm Chef Karin Desveaux. I am the program coordinator of the culinary programs here at Loyalist College. My background started in Toronto, so I went to George Brown College. Out of college, I ended up in some amazing fine dining restaurants, so including Ivory, Left Bank. I was part of the opening crew of Rosewater. I cooked at Winston's for a period of time. And all of those fine dining rooms were an incredible foundation for my culinary trainings. From there, I went on to cook for some prominent families as a private chef. And then following that, I ended up moving out to Prince Edward County in 2003 to open some restaurants. So started with a tiny restaurant called the Milford Bistro. That was 18 seats in a converted general store. We did 2 seatings every night. It was absolute madness, but really focused on seasonal ingredients, local ingredients. From there, I moved on to open a larger restaurant in Picton called Harvest Restaurant that was rated one of Canada's top 10 dining rooms by En Route magazine. And there we really augmented our efforts around local. From there, I moved on to teach here at the college. So I started part-time and then ended up becoming full-time faculty and just learning to translate my knowledge from the industry into a teaching position, which has been incredibly rewarding. Throughout my time in Toronto, I was probably the only woman in the majority of the kitchens that I worked at. And so this sort of absence of females in the kitchen, I think largely had to do with a number of factors. So A, it's a very physically demanding job, but B, there are some social constructs that prevent women from coming to the industry and staying in the industry. So lots of evenings, lots of long hours, weekends, and if the female is, the person who's traditionally doing the child care or responsible for domestic work, a lot of that becomes really challenging to pursue on a meaningful professional level. I think that in my own case, I was really fortunate to have the support of my father. So when I opened my businesses, Papa came and played double duty in terms of looking after our daughter and helping to support us in the restaurant by, going to all the farms and picking up all the things. But the role of women in the kitchen has definitely shifted over time. And now we're seeing, if not 50%, sometimes 60 and 70% female students versus male students in the classroom. I think that if female chefs want to keep their place at the stove, it requires a redistribution of the work that happens outside of the kitchen. So it means having either a supportive partner who's willing to take on a lot of the childcare duties. As hospitality evolves, we recognize that a healthier work-life balance in general, not just gender-based, but human-based, is emerging. And so I think that the possibilities are becoming a lot more vast in terms of being able to be a strong female force in the kitchen. I have worked in kitchens that are predominantly female, and some of my observations, my own personal anecdotal observations around that, have been that there's a lot more collaboration in those kitchens and an openness to perhaps a less rigid way of doing things, which may bode well for future structures within the profession. In the college, we are now experiencing a very exciting time. So we've started a massive renovation. We are currently in the finishing stages of our first bake lab. So we're getting a fully renovated bake lab with 16 workstations for students. We're also building a pastry and chocolate lab. And so students are going to be able to produce some of the more delicate items in a climate-controlled environment. The Loyalist Market is where we sell the prepared baked goods and cooked items that the students make. And once that section is finished, we're going to be building the new restaurant. The new restaurant is going to be overlooking the back area of the college, the beautiful natural environment. We're going to have a huge patio that overlooks that area. And the restaurant is going to be called Nourish. So we came up with this name because we recognize that the work we're doing here at the college involves nourishing not only minds, but bellies and communities. And so we're really looking at this renovation as an opportunity to connect with the community in a more meaningful way. We recognize that the hospitality sector in the county in Quinte West has developed significantly over the last several years, and we really want to be a meaningful piece of the training and skills development that is required to move this forward. And so in this facility, we're going to be able to host tastings and new releases of wines and beers and ciders and spirits and all the incredible things that our local partners are producing. But we're also going to be able to offer skills training. So things like barista training, front of house training, all of the things that complement the existing culinary skills that we already teach. We recognize that students who can not only cook but are proficient at baking are becoming increasingly valuable in the labor force. So a lot of restaurants can't afford to have both a pastry chef as well as a chef. And so, we're really trying to turn out a graduate that is able to do both of those things. And so this is part of why within our programming we added what we call an advanced bake component. So what this is an area of study where we train the students to cook beyond what the ministry outcomes are, let's say. So we really allow them to get some practice time in the kitchen with some of the yeasted dough, some of the sort of finer pastry work, some of the finer chocolate work, and support an individual's skills development who can sort of span the tasks that would be involved in both of those stations. And so the new facility is going to be able to support that learning in a much more meaningful way. I would say that teaching has been the most fulfilling chapter so far of my career. I get to not only still cook, but work with students and see the light bulb go on as they develop their own culinary skills. So couldn't be happier to be here.